What if the secret to conquering anxiety, external negativity, and that voice of self-doubt is contained in just 3 short, ancient verses? Because you, the learner, are probably dealing with it, right? This modern state of being.
Oh, absolutely. The constant flex, the information overload.
Yeah, that persistent feeling of just being fragmented,
Yeah.
uncertain. It can feel overwhelming.
It really can. And that's why we're doing this deep dive today. We're looking at a framework designed specifically to address that modern vulnerability.
An ideal, really, a way of navigating the chaos. The sources we looked at call the Quranic human, or Homo Quranicus.
Exactly. And this isn't about, escaping difficulty. That's not the goal. It's about developing an internal foundation that's so solid that when hardship does hit, you navigate it with confidence.
Instead of panic.
Right. It's about replacing panic with what the sources call submission and precaution, which is really a profound trust paired with practical spiritual preparedness.
The divinely inspired toolkit.
That's the perfect way to put it.
And we're ready for that toolkit. Our source material today is this really comprehensive coaching guide that focuses on the Quranic resilience framework. It all centers on 3 foundational chapters, or surahs, known as the Muawvizeteyn.
The protectors, Al-Ikhlas, Al-Falaq, and An-Nas.
And we're going to unpack how these 3 short chapters can form a complete, active, a kind of spiritual armor for building resilience and consciousness.
It's a very strategic defense system. It's not random.
A 3-pronged strategy, you said.
It's a 3-pronged strategy, exactly. Each one addresses a different battleground. Al-Ikhlas for the inner core, the foundation. Al-Falaq for the external world, the shield. And An-Nas, that's for the mind itself.
The final frontier.
The final and often the toughest frontier.
Okay, so let's unpack that first layer, the foundation. This one seems to directly address that crushing feeling of disorganization and, well, fragmentation. Is just so common now.
It does, and the sources, they lay out a very clear psychological diagnosis here. It's targeting those specific spiritual and psychological ailments that make us feel so shaky. Think about the symptoms. You might recognize them.
Okay.
That persistent sense of being mentally scattered.
Yeah.
That pervasive, undefined anxiety about what's next. And this one is critical. Excessive dependency.
Dependency on what exactly? People.
On people, yes, but also on material success, on social validation, on your job title, anything external for your sense of self-worth.
And that dependency is, well, it's the core vulnerability, isn't it? If your anchor is tied to something that's always shifting, like the stock market or someone's opinion of you.
You're constantly vulnerable. You're constantly at risk of being completely shattered. It's a recipe for chronic inadequacy and this feeling of neediness.
Exactly. So what's the prescription? The anchor.
The anchor is found in the truth of Al-Ikhlas. Wholeness is achieved by anchoring yourself to as-samad.
Explain as-samad. I think we hear this term, but its functional meaning in this psychological context is incredibly powerful.
It is. In simple terms, as-samad means the one to whom all are in need while he is in need of nothing. But think of it less as just a name and more like the central pillar of a massive building. Everything leans on it, but it leans on nothing.
Okay, I see. So it fundamentally shifts where you get your support from.
It completely shifts the source of your sufficiency. Instead of trying to get validation from the unreliable outer world, which will always fail you eventually, you anchor your self-worth to the eternal divine source.
You purify the heart from the many to the one.
You've got it. It's the antidote to fragmentation.
But how does a spiritual concept like that practically help me when I'm, scrolling through social media and feeling totally inadequate?
It's a process of conscious repositioning. When you recite Al-Ikhlas and you really reflect on this truth, you're performing an internal act of spiritual defiance, really.
You're telling your mind.
You're telling your mind, my ultimate support is not this post or that promotion or that person's approval. My ultimate support is Allah, the self-sufficient. Therefore, I am not ultimately dependent on anyone else, and I am not alone.
So it's about reclaiming a God-given self-sufficiency.
Precisely. If your neediness, your need to be filled or validated, is directed towards as-samad, it gets fulfilled reliably. If it's directed at temporary things, the need just gets bigger.
It fortifies your spiritual immunity, builds a non-contingent self-confidence.
You become whole through connection to the whole.
Okay, that makes perfect sense for securing the inner core.
Right.
But then the next question is obvious. How do we shield that core from all the negativity of the outside world?
And that is exactly where Al-Falaq comes in, the external shield.
Right.
Al-Falaq is the direct countermeasure for anxieties that are rooted in external threats. The diagnosis here is it's broad, but it's specific.
Like,
General fear of the outside world, apprehension about specific malicious intentions, what the sources call the evil eye, or haste, envy, and just that paranoid feeling that something bad is about to happen.
and in our modern world, haste. I mean, that's every time we compare ourselves to someone online or feel that sting of professional envy.
They're not abstract fears anymore. They are palpable sources of anxiety.
So what's the spiritual remedy? You can't just pretend danger doesn't exist.
You don't. And that's the liberating truth here. The prescription is to trust the light. The darkness, the envy, the external evil, it is real, yes. But the Lord of the Daybreak, Rab al-Falaq, is infinitely more powerful.
So the evil can't actually surround a protected soul.
Because the light is promised, it's guaranteed to always break through.
I love that symbolism, Lord of the Daybreak, it feels like an affirmation of ultimate hope. No matter how deep the night is, the dawn is a certainty.
It is a certainty. Rab al-Falaq is a reminder that this power will always, without fail, bring forth light, splitting open the deepest darkness. It affirms that no external negativity can ultimately overwhelm the light inside you, as long as you take refuge in its source.
The sources also mention that Rab al-Falaq is the one who unties the knots.
Yes. Psychologically, we can see this as untying our emotional tangles, our complex problems, those perceived curses that bind us. He guarantees liberation from that entanglement.
So the practical guidance here is moving from fear to fortitude.
Exactly. When you feel that pressure, walking into a tense meeting or a toxic family gathering, you recite Al-Falaq and you engage in a powerful mental visualization.
What kind of visualization?
The source material suggests this. Visualize yourself emerging from a difficult situation into light, just as a seed breaks through the dark soil to reach the sun.
Ah, I like that.
It's an exercise in aligning your heart with the guaranteed triumph of divine light over darkness. You're actively setting a boundary between your secure core and the chaos outside.
Okay, so now we move to the final and often the most challenging frontier, the battlefield of the mind. We've secured the core with Ikhlas, we've shielded our boundaries with Falaq, but the battle for mental sovereignty, that continues. How do we get ownership over our own thoughts?
And An-Nas targets that battle directly. It's for those internal struggles known as insidious whispers, or Waswasa.
The diagnosis for this one is terrifyingly relatable.
It really is. Persistent intrusive thoughts, debilitating obsessions, those constant nagging what-if questions that just fuel anxiety spirals.
And that chronically negative, self-critical inner voice.
The one that delivers hopelessness and despair right to your doorstep.
It's the hardest battle, because those thoughts feel like they're coming from me. So who are you even fighting? Yourself.
And that right there is the core liberating truth in An-Nas. The prescription, the source of those intrusive whispers, is explicitly stated as not you.
They're foreign intrusions.
Foreign intrusions from a sneaky retreating source, Hannes.
Wait, retreating or sneaky, what does that actually look like in a daily struggle with self-doubt? How do I identify that thought as external?
Think of it like a drive-by thought. It's the thought that plants a seed of self-sabotage and then immediately runs away before you can examine it.
It never sticks around for a debate.
Never. It's the voice that whispers, "You are a failure," just before a big presentation, and then it vanishes when you try to trace where it came from. The cure is to stop taking it seriously and to turn immediately to your king, Al-Malik.
Which is why the structure of the surah itself is so brilliant. It feels like this deliberate strategy to invoke overwhelming power against such a weak foe.
It's a masterful psychological strategy of escalation. In this one short chapter, you invoke three majestic attributes of the divine: Lord, Rab, King Malik, and God, Ilah.
You're putting the absolute authority of the universe on one side.
And this single, cowardly, retreating whisperer on the other. The structure itself demonstrates the utter weakness of the inner foe compared to the power of your protector.
It reframes the battle from me versus me too.
To me and the sovereign versus the external chatter. It's a simple act of turning for refuge.
So the practical guidance for reclaiming mental peace it's profound. When your mind is racing, you deploy the defense.
You recite An-Nas with a very deliberate, conscious intention. These thoughts are not mine. They are merely insidious whispers. I declare that the absolute king, Malik, and sovereign authority over my mind is Allah.
It's an act of spiritual liberation. You're handing over the reins.
You're handing the reins of your inner world to the rightful sovereign. It stops being your personal battle and becomes a divine matter of protection. You are claiming mental sovereignty.
So we have these three distinct, powerful tools: the core, the external, the mind. How do we bring it all together? How do we synthesize them into a unified daily practice that actually activates this spiritual armor?
And that's where knowledge becomes power, right? When it's embodied through consistent ritual. The sources really emphasize transforming these words from just sound into a tangible felt shield. The practice, which was modeled by ancient spiritual guides, involves 3 very intentional phases.
Phase 1.
Assuming the stance of acceptance. It starts with the physical posture, cupping your hands together. It's a physical act of humility, of readiness to receive divine blessings, or nur. Light. It prepares the vessel.
And phase 2 is the sequential purification, reciting them in order, but with specific conscious intention. It's not just rote memorization.
Not at all. With Ikhlas, the intention is to focus the mind and clear the heart of all dependencies. You're centering your inner core. You're basically saying, I am whole.
Okay, I am whole. Then with Falaq.
The intention is to establish external protection. You consciously close your spiritual aura to negativity. You establish the outer shield. You're saying, I am safe.
I am safe. And finally, with Nas.
You establish internal protection. You silence the whispers and secure inner peace. Mental mastery, you were saying, I am in control of my own thoughts.
That layered intention is what makes it all click. I am whole. I am safe. I am in control.
Exactly. And the final step, phase 3, integrates it all. You connect it to your breath and body. It becomes a full somatic experience.
How so?
You synchronize the recitation with deep intentional breathing. You consciously inhale divine light, the nur, and you exhale the darkness, the fear, the intrusive thoughts.
And the final act.
The final tangible act is gathering the moisture from your breath on your hands and then gently wiping your hands over your head, your face, and your body.
Physically sealing the spiritual armor.
You are physically sealing the spiritual armor you just activated. And when you do this consistently, waking up before sleep during moments of fear, the sources promise that this ritual transforms you. It transforms that vulnerable, fragmented, modern self into a sanctuaried soul.
Wow.
So the final synthesis is this. The Quranic human isn't free from challenges. Nobody is. But they are divinely equipped to face them with confidence and profound grace.
It's more than just a coping mechanism. It's a new way of being.
It's moving from vulnerability and dependency to a profound, deep internal security.
And the central promise is so simple, but powerful.
And powerful.
One who takes resting in Allah is never left exposed. These surahs are a sanctuary that you can enter at any time.
Ultimate, specific protection for the inner self, the external boundaries, and the turbulent landscape of the mind.
So if the greatest battles are truly won in the landscape of the mind, what might your life look like if you consistently surrender that inner chaos to its absolute sovereign? Go build your sanctuary.